I grew up in a community about 2.5 miles west of Plains, Georgia, in southwest Georgia. We had 215 African Americans and 10 white people living there. It was an isolated community, and our lives were completely immersed in one another. I won't go into detail, but I wrote a book about this called An Hour Before Daylight, which, by the way, is still on sale. And at the end of the book, I tried to think of the 5 people other than my mother and father who shaped my life. Of the 5 people, only 2 of them were white. The others were African Americans who gave me an image into the moral values of people who worshiped with sincerity and whose lives were, at that time, afflicted by racial segregation. I saw then the millstone around my neighbors' necks and also the millstone around our necks, which were removed to a great extent by Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta and Andy Young and others who worked with him. When I ran for governor later on, I had never met Martin Luther King Jr. He died 3 years before that. But when I gave my inaugural address as governor, I pointed out that the time for racial discrimination in Georgia was over. This was not a very momentous statement, but it was so different from what still prevailed in Georgia that I was on the front cover of Time magazine in just 3 weeks, which I just said what Martin Luther King Jr. had said so effusively and beautifully before. When I ran for president, Daddy King was in my corner, along with Coretta, along with Andy Young, along with Benjamin Mays, and it was their support, more than anything else, that gave the rest of the nation some confidence that they could trust a man who grew up in the Deep South.